right, let's start right away. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and we're very happy to have you all here, interested in accelerating your biomedical research in a way or another. This is Ahmed Abdullah. I'm originally an MD coming from the medical sector, and currently the founder and CEO of Bionl.ai, where we try to accelerate biomedical research for researchers. So I consider myself always the first user for Bionl, as I'm always interested in bioinformatics and biomedical research. And I always struggle with coding, or used to struggle with coding. So I'm going to share my screen now and maybe share a quick presentation first. And then we're going to dive deeper into the platform itself. I'm going to show you how I'm using it. And maybe you would have some use cases as well. But I would love for this to be a very interactive webinar as well. So we'd love to hear from you. Maybe if you want us to try something together, we can. And if you have any question or concern or how this can be used for a specific thing, we can do it this way as well. So I'm not going to speak more than 10 to 15 minutes, and then we can make it more interactive with you guys. So let's start right away. All right, so now you can see my screen. All right, let's go here immediately. All right, so let me move this. Okay. So again, this is Bionl.ai. It's a no-code biomedical, bioinformatics, and literature review research platform. The whole journey of Bionl started almost like 2 years ago, when we were, as a biomedical researchers, facing problems with writing bioinformatics code. We started as a group of bioinformaticians. We write code. However, many of the biomedical researchers that we used to collaborate with, they always struggled in writing code. So we were thinking like what we can do to accelerate this, and large language models were just starting. That was before it was cool, and by the end of 2022. We started building our own models, testing with publicly available models and so on to see. We started with the analysis part on how we can build a strong model that turns text and natural language prompts into bioinformatics code in Python. That was the original premise. And it actually was trying to solve the problem that many researchers today, they struggle because they lack programming know-how of how to write code. Sometimes, so what you do, you outsource part of your bioinformatics to CROs or to external bioinformaticians. This would take a huge amount of time and would delay your research. At the same time, so this is how it all started, and how we can generate bioinformatics code. But as we were like meeting with users, testing with users, a lot of them were highlighting the problem of literature search and literature review before going into the analysis part. So we extended our offerings into going more into literature search as well, as I'm going to be showing you in a minute. So currently, Bionl, this is the structure of Bionl. It starts with natural language prompts. It helps you with your analysis. You start from natural language prompts to analysis, and then the outcome is code, and it gives you the analysis results. And currently, the team is developing this, is making this analysis part much larger through developing full bioinformatics pipelines for your biomedical analysis in the platform. So that's one arm. The second vertical, which we're going to be focusing on today in our webinar, is the literature search and paper analysis, PDF analysis. So instead of going to doing your own literature search, looking for papers, going through each of these papers, we developed multiple AI models where we would crunch thousands of papers and bring you the most relevant ones to your exact request. From PubMed, from all literature. Currently, we have access to over 200 million papers, probably 240 million papers on Bionl today, where you can explore, summarize, and extract insights from. So you can, in your literature search, you can do a general search, you can do a PubMed search, or you can do an all literature search, not only limited to PubMed. Something that we're very excited to launch later this week is where you would be able to chat with your papers, with any paper that you would like. If you're doing a PubMed search and this paper was publicly available, you can immediately fetch that paper to your file system, as we're going to be see in a minute, and chat with that paper. Or you can upload your own papers and start analyzing them. So you would be interested in analyzing, like, what is the most, what can you summarize the methodology in this paper? What can you summarize the results? What was the outcomes, and so on. And we try to add some cognitive analysis to this paper analysis, not only summarization of text. So that's one big vertical. And the third vertical, which we're very excited to be launching to some of our B2B clients at the moment, is where they will be able to access publicly available data sets. So they would simply do the way you do literature search, you would be able to do data set search. And then from your data sets, you would be able to fetch that data set for your analysis. So you would be able to fetch the publicly available data set and take it to analysis and start playing with it right away. And the whole platform provides for you computation as a service and, of course, code execution as a service as well. So you don't need to connect any external computation. It's all done for you in one place. So let's go through quickly some of the ideas that I just talked about. Like for data analysis, this is the prompt that you would put. For example, prompt the distribution of this gene. It would give you like a description of what this code is doing and the code and the execution of that code. We're going to be seeing that in a moment. And you can run your code and you can generate code in Python or in R. Currently, Python is live. R is under review and will be released very shortly. So this is in terms of data analysis and what does it do for you. In terms of literature search, you can do a general search like this to bring you questions from scientific sources with zero hallucination, or it can give you something similar to this, like a PubMed search or an all literature search, where it gives you the top papers for your search and a big answer that answers your question from all the papers that were funneled to you. We're going to dive deeper into this later today. The third thing, as I mentioned, is PDF analysis or paper analysis, where you would upload your paper and chat with your paper. So you would say, for example, give me a summary of this document. What is the highlights of the discussion part in this paper? Summarize the results, anything you really want. And the last thing that you just mentioned are the publicly available data sets. You would be able to simply look for data sets related to lung adenocarcinoma and then fetch this data set to your file system here, as we will going to see in a minute as well. Very quickly going through it, again, as we mentioned, Bionl leverages state-of-the-art large language models, and we every day we're enhancing them. We're currently working with universities, pharma companies, biotech startups to accelerate the research, but the tool is, again, available for everyone to use it and to start playing with it to accelerate your research, and that's why we're here today. Of course, it's some quick advantages that we provide. It's the first of its kind in an NLP-enabled research platform for biomedical research. One workspace for all of your functionalities. You'll be able to do your literature search, your data set search, and your data analysis in one place. Your team would be powered with the power of literature search and PDF analysis. And of course, you can directly fetch any publicly available data set. You don't need to go and find that data set, download it, and upload it again. You will be able to access it directly in one place from the top sources, of course. We currently have like multiple plans. Of course, you can use the tool for free. Part of it is free forever. We have a starter plan that is free forever. It's a little bit limited in some aspects related to computation, but there are some parts that is free forever. However, if you are a student, a researcher, a PDF scientist, a scientist in a biotech startup in a university, you would want to maybe upgrade a little bit. We have 3 plans: the literature search and PDF analysis plan, limited to literature search and PDF analysis. We have a full data analysis and literature review, so everything here in addition to full data analysis, and you would have full computation for you provided in one place. That's why it's more expensive. And of course, team collaboration, data analysis, where you would have like collaboration with your team. I just wanted to make sure that everything is going okay, perfect. But again, for each webinar, we launch like a discount. So you would have for the upcoming 3 days, you would be able to get 50% off because you attended this webinar, and this is the promo code. We're going to be sharing it later in the chat as well. So here's the platform. Let's dive deeper immediately into it and play with it together. So maybe and again, we're still launching this, and we'd really love to make sure that we receive very good feedback from you. We make sure that this is an interactive webinar as well. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new session here for this webinar. Let's call it webinar January 2024, and we create a full new session here. So this is when you create a new session, you would come to here. It would open in a new tab. Here is your default session and so on. It starts from here where you would have access to all of your workspaces. So you can create multiple workspaces if you want. If you are, for example, in university and you would have multiple labs or multiple departments, you would want to create multiple workspaces for them. That's how we're seeing our users using the platform today. Of course, you can use a dark theme if you want. Many people are loving using our dark theme. I love the light version for some weird reason. So, and here is your workspaces. In each workspace, you would be able to create multiple sessions. You would see this as a Jupyter Notebook session. Like probably many of you dealt with Jupyter Notebooks or Google Colab. If you're doing your data analysis, it's something similar to it. Like this is your session. If you don't know where to start, you can start from here. These are some examples for your literature review. These are examples for your analysis, and this is an example for your data sets. But again, let's start playing with it. I'm going to start from search. So here you can upload any files you want, and from here you'll be able to control your computation as well. So let's start from search. You would be able to have like general, PubMed, or literature search. You would be able to move to analysis from here, or choose data sets, or write code immediately. Like you can, if you're already familiar with writing code, or you have already existing bits and pieces of code that you want to test here on your data set, you'll be able to upload your data set here and write your code immediately and execute it, and play with it as well. So let's start from search today because we're focusing on literature search, literature review, and paper analysis. So let's start from our general search, and we would say, let's go ahead. Let's ask maybe the most. I'm doing this on the spot. So let's see if you have any questions in the middle. Just cut me and say the most prominent. Prominent. So the most prominent variant of CRISPR in 2023. Okay, so let's go ahead, ask this question. Let's see what will be the results. Of course, you can filter from here everything or group your answers. As you can see in seconds, you would have millions of scientific papers, scientific results and articles on the internet. And it would give you most of the, it would crunch all of these scientific resources and bring you the most refined answers. And of course, you can go ahead and check these resources. It's from top scientific resources. For example, this is Synthigo. I think it's one of the top CRISPR updates, scientific resources, or any other resources you want. And you can see that in 2023, significant advances were made in the field of CRISPR. This is it, this is that, and all of that. And of course, you would see here some of the new unique variants that you don't hear a lot about. Of course, CRISPR-Cas9 is the most important system, CRISPR system. So you would start from here, maybe let's take CRISPR-Cas9. Let's go to PubMed and see, and say CRISPR-Cas9 and 2023. You can do it. You can do your filtration from here as a natural language prompt, or you can do it from filters here. So you can say, what are the max results I want? What is the publication year? The author site, journals contains, or the author contains, whatever you want to do. Let's go ahead and launch this PubMed request. So this is a PubMed request, and let's see all of the papers coming up. So here you would have, these are because the number of papers that we asked for were 5, it brings you the most refined 5 papers for your exact request, and it gives you a summary for each paper, the abstract of each paper, the PDF if it's publicly available, and a summary that would answer your exact question. So this is a generic question, but if it was a very specific question, this would answer your question from these specific papers now, not from like general internet search for scientific resources like Google Scholar. This would define it from PubMed. And you would say, for example, load more. I want to see if it's loading here, it's loading. It would give you another 5 papers. You would be able to visualize any papers and do all of your literature search from one place, and then keeping loading more and loading more. So this is PubMed, and all literature basically functions the same, and but you would be able to access all literature, not only PubMed sources. Many of our users, they want some papers, they want to explore some papers outside the medical industry and connect it to their medical expertise, and this is how they do it. So, for example, you want to do CRISPR-Cas9 and sepsis, because we're working on a sepsis project at Bionl, that came to my mind. Let's see the results, and there should be probably some very good papers here. And let's see, yeah. So I searched all literature about. So these are the top papers. I can, of course, load more after this summarization is done. And this is trying to answer my specific question. So the applications of CRISPR-Cas9 in sepsis research has been explored in several studies. In 2016, this happened, and that, and so on. So you would be able to go through exactly, instead of spending hours going through PubMed or other paper resources and going through each one of these papers specifically, you would be able to get your summary here in seconds, and you would be able to explore all of your literature in seconds. You can, of course, explore any of these papers. If it's publicly available, you would be able to see it. And like later this week, as I mentioned, you would have a new button here that would say Analyze. And once you click on Analyze, it would take you in a new tab to analyze this paper and chat with this paper. So please help us in testing this feature and play with it as much as you want. So this is basically how you would do your literature search, exploration, and paper search. One thing I'm going to be showing is the data sets part, and maybe I'm going to give an example of 1 or 2 for the analysis part, just for the sake of like you're here already. So for data sets, you would maybe search for, I don't know, breast cancer. This is a very like vague search, but let's see all of that. So just for the sake of the argument, so this, I'm doing here a data set search on the geo data set. This is the gene expression omnibus, where it has multiple data, like millions of data sets on gene expression specifically. So what you would do your search here, and you would get all of these data sets, a summary for each data set, and maybe you want to fetch this data set. So let's go ahead and fetch this one. This is the accession number of the data set, GDF 5621. We fetch it here. It is currently fetching. It will go ahead now. It's loading, and now it's here. So here it's 5621, 5621. Now the full data set is fetched here for us, and these are your soft files. And you can, of course, this is gene expression files, and you can play with it as much as you want. So this is how you're able to do. Soon we're going to be able to add, like, not only geo, we're going to be able to add sequencing data sets, proteins, mass spectrometry data. This feature was developed because we have many B2B clients that have specific requirements on these data sets, and we're developing these for them. But we're going to be rolling it out to the public version here for everyone to use. one very quick analysis part. I know we're going to be focusing on the literature search, but let's go ahead and I'm just going to show you how the analysis works. And so basically the TCGA dataset is a very famous dataset. Let's go ahead and pick an mRNA expression. These files you're going to find when you create an account, you're going to find these files just for exploration and for you to play with them. You can, of course, delete them. Let's go ahead and get maybe glioblastoma multiform. And once I choose it from here, it shows here that now I'm doing my analysis on using Python code. I want to generate Python code on this specific data set. So you would say, for example, what are the top 10 highly expressed genes in this data set, as I picked like a gene expression data, as you can see. So let's see, what happens here is simply this request would go to our AI models. We would fit this request with the dataset that you chose and generate a code for you that would answer your question. And this code would be generated and it would be executed in the same instance. So it gives you, here's the code, here's the execution of the code, and here are the top 10 highly expressed genes. And this is, so instead of going yourself and writing this code, spending like maybe an hour looking on the internet, how I'm going to do that, here in seconds you would get it. So let's go ahead and try maybe to plot this gene, plot a histogram of this gene, and let's see. So again, it would bring all of the gene expression values for this gene of all samples in this specific data set and plot a histogram for us. And that's the analysis part. So where you would be able to generate your code. So as you can see from this data set, as you can see here, this tool was built in mind. It was built by biomedical researchers. They have in mind like the whole idea of how we can provide the best tool for all biomedical researchers struggling with writing code in their analysis, struggling with their literature search, spending so much time on their literature review, going through their papers, reading all of these papers, how we can make it easier to summarize it for them. So that's Bionl in a nutshell, again, all of you. And hopefully we will be able to have conversations with you, your universities, your companies, just to make sure how this tool would be very helpful for you and accelerate your work. Otherwise, thank you so much.